I don't know where it's at then. It was there the other day. You're just going to have to borrow somebody's today, Brendan. That's all you need it for, is for that. So you're just going to have to borrow somebody's. All right, guys, come in, open your Chromebooks, get your weather tracking going. When you're done with that, go ahead and shut your Chromebook so I know you're done, okay? You got about 3 minutes. Tristan, computer on your desk. Lise?
There's one with an apostrophe and one without one.
The one with is official.
.com I feel like is more better.
More better. More better, he says. Okay, when you finish up, like I said, close up your Chromebook and get your notebook ready. Get your science book turned to page 271. Okay, today we're going to be talking about climate. Brendan, you're going to have to go look at somebody's computer in order to get your weather, and you needed something to write on and you need something to write with. So I'm not sure how you're going to accomplish that with nothing in hand. Pop on somebody's. Russia, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, where are you writing it down at, Ethan? We're not just doing it for fun. You need to be writing it down in your journal. I know, but your journal's not even out without a pencil. So how can you write? Tristan, please stop writing with red pen. You gotta write with pencil or something, bud. Do you need a pencil? City. It's got a better eraser on it if you need it. Do you go with that one? All right, guys, wrap that up in the next 60 seconds.
Yesterday, Christian? What? Did you do science yesterday?
What?
Science.
Oh.
Oh, I do. Did we hear where that was?
Okay, let's get this wrapped up. Go ahead and put your Chromebooks up. Get your Chromebooks put up. Let's get it put up. Let's get it put up, Bella.
How many vocab words today?
There's going to be 6. So today we're talking about climate, okay? And one of the biggest objectives we need to be able to identify at the end of this is the difference in weather and climate. So somebody tell me, what is weather? Brendan, what's weather?
Weather is like the temperature
Okay, that's kind of part of it. Who else? Sam, what is weather?
What happens outside?
Okay, that's part of it. James. Okay, so what you two were missing was at a particular time and place. Okay, so the weather is right now. Right now outside, we talk about the weather. We can talk about the weather tomorrow, yesterday. We can even talk about the weather a couple days from now. Okay, we talked the other day that you can predict, just not real far in advance. So when you hear climate, what do you think of when you hear climate? What is a climate? James. Okay, so it's like a region. Okay, what were you going to say, Jeremy?
Like after a span of years, like you can kind of predict like what kind of weather you'll get.
Good, good. So a climate's going to tell me it's a pattern. It's a pattern of weather. Okay, the weather is specific to a particular time and place. That's why we can tell today, yesterday, tomorrow. It's right now. Okay. So the other thing we want to be able to do is identify there's 3 different kinds of climates. We're actually going to discuss kind of a 4th one, but there's 3 that we're going to focus on. Okay? And you need to know the locations and characteristics of those 3. Okay? And I want you guys, as I'm doing these overviews moving forward, okay, with our lessons, when I give you these overviews, these are things that you should probably be noting down. Like, this is what I need to take away from this lesson. I need to know the 3 climates. Okay, I obviously always need to know vocab. And then Coach said we need to know the difference between climate and weather. And then as we read through the book, now you guys can start making notes. Okay, that's where he was talking about. Here's what he was asking. Think backs. Okay, today's think back, this won't work because my think back questions are different than the book. But that way we can work towards knowing what are we trying to look for, and you have a bit more of an intention and a bit more purpose during the lesson instead of just listening to everybody read. Then you go do think backs and have to reread everything. If we just follow along, pay attention and see what we're looking for, then we'll get more out of the lesson. Okay? So today, what is climate? Need to know the 3 climate zones and the characteristics and locations of those. Okay? James, start us off on page 271. Everybody is following along.
What will the weather be like 1 month from today at 4 in the afternoon? That's impossible to predict. You can predict, however, that the weather will be colder in the winter, more rainy in the spring, warmer in the summer, and cooler in the fall. While you can't predict the weather far in advance, you can predict climate. Climate is the weather pattern of a region over many years.
Good. Climate is the weather pattern of a region over many years. Again, that's what you need to take away. You need to make sure you know it's a pattern over a region. Okay, and we're able to predict that because over many years it's happened this way, and we have enough data now that suggests this climate to this region and how this operates. Okay, year after year. Okay, Brendan, go ahead. Brendan, do you have a notebook out to take notes? Perfect. Brendan, you're going to owe me 5 minutes on Friday, my friend. We're on 271. I don't even think you're on the right page. 271, places around the world.
Places around the world and even around the country have different climates. Some places, such as Antarctica, are always cold. Places near the equator are always warm. Rainforests may average 1,200 centimeters or 480 inches of rain a year, and the driest deserts average well under 25 centimeters or 10 inches of rain. Some regions receive several meters of snow each year. Some places get only a dusting or none at all.
Good. Stay on that page. Okay, let's read through that intersection where it says emperor penguins. Ellie, read that for us.
Antarctica's emperor penguin is the most champion for surviving in
These birds spend weeks in total darkness, like Antarctica, and observe temperatures of -62 Celsius or -80 Fahrenheit. The wind speeds of up to 90 meters or 120 miles per hour. Emperor penguins have a thick layer of blubber and a feather density of 12 feathers per centimeter. 77 feathers per square inch. Their feathers are structured with a base of fluffy down to trap the warm air and arrows tips to keep out the cold air.
Good. Okay, so make sure you're getting these factors that affect the climate into your notes. The only ones you probably don't need to put on there are these 3 extra. You can do that at the end, but add these 6 into your notes. Okay, make sure you know that the latitude affects the climate. What's that mean? What are we talking about with the latitude there? How would that affect the climate?
Like what area of the world it's in. Like if it's like high, it's probably like pretty cold.
What's in the middle?
Like
What's that
the
called?
Equator.
The equator, right, which is latitude. Okay, so Jeremy's on the right track there. The higher north I am, okay, depends on where it's at, north or south. Okay, the way north, it'd be cold. Way south, it's what? You got Canada and Greenland, super what? Cold? Cold, and then you got Antarctica. Is that hot? No. So super north, we're really cold. Really south, we're really cold. So in the middle of the equator, that's where we have these different climate zones. And so these are the things that affect those things. Nearness to the ocean or large bodies of water. Why would that affect it? Good. It's going to affect the weather, right? The ocean affects the temperature. It's going to affect those things. Good. Altitude. Why would that affect it, Bailey?
If you're high, like the higher up you get on, like, say you're like climbing Mount Everest or something.
Yep.
The higher up you get, there's less oxygen
Good.
because of the weather up there.
Okay. So is it warmer or cooler? Colder. So the higher in altitude we go, the colder it gets. Let's go back to the water cycle for a second. Warm air evaporates and rises, right? But why does it condensate? Because it gets high into what? Colder atmosphere, right? The higher we get, the colder it is, which is going to affect the climate. Okay? Talked about the ocean a little bit. Which side of the mountain? We're going to read about that. Pretty interesting as far as windward or leeward, which way the temperature changes on each side of the mountain. And then large cities, this stuff obviously makes a difference in how much pollution there is, how tall the buildings are. Okay, that stuff absorbs heat and traps heat. Okay? So we've got 3 major types of climates. Okay? We're going to talk about those right here. All right, page 272. Isabel.
The Earth has 3 major types of climate. The region near the equator is always warm. A climate that is warm year-round is called a tropical climate. Places such as southern Florida, Mexico, and Sweden are usually hot year-round.
Good. Elena.
In regions near the North Pole and the South Pole are always cold. A climate that is cold year-round is called a polar climate. Regions far to the north have cold temperatures even in the middle of summer. Northern Canada, for example, has a polar climate.
Good. And then Jackson.
The area between the tropical and polar climates have temperate climates. A temperate climate is a climate that has warm temperature in the summer, cold temperatures in the winter, and mild seasons in between. Most of the United States and Canada have a temperate climate.
Good. Okay, so let's go back to the tropical climate and then check out that map up there. This is what we were just discussing, where the equator, we know, runs through the middle, right? And then if you look top and bottom there, you can kind of see where these climate zones change. Okay, so above the equator and below, we've got all 3 climate zones. Okay, so make sure you know tropical climate is a climate that is warm year-round. Okay, and it has 2 seasons. It sounds like a test question. I'd probably make sure I know. Which climate has a rainy and dry season? Which rainy and dry is a what kind of climate? There you go, okay? Some other factor or some facts about tropical climate, okay? Rainforests, obviously, makes sense, right? It's a tropical climate, it's a tropical rainforest, okay? It's going to be humid and dark. Okay, we've talked about humidity. There's constant warmth, light, and rain. Lots of rain in the tropical climate. Okay? Then we talked about a polar climate. Where would a polar climate be? Okay, way far north, way far south. Give me some specifics, though. If it's really south, it's where? Antarctica. Good. If it was really far north, yeah, like even further than that would be like Greenland. Okay, Greenland, way up north. If you see there, you see how high up, yes, you see how high up on the map there on 272, it's above, there's some of Canada, but it's even higher up there, like Alaska. Okay? A couple more facts about polar climates, okay? Only hardy plants such as grasses can survive in the Arctic. Okay? Arctic animals escape the harsh winter by migrating south. Those are things you probably already know. Animals take shelter under the snow. Okay? And other animals such as the Arctic fox, the hare, and snowy owl change color from brown to white for camouflage. Pretty fun fact. Okay? Let's watch this adorable little penguin video.
These ultimate dads are the only animals to breed in the Antarctic winter. No small feat when temperatures routinely drop below minus 31 degrees Fahrenheit. And to top it off, this sensitive male takes full responsibility for the couple's one and only egg, refusing to leave until it hatches into a healthy chick. He is the emperor penguin, the largest penguin on Earth. One way to beat the icy temps and polar winds is to huddle together and share body warmth. Another way is fat. A chubby dad is a healthier dad in the South Pole. Penguins need every ounce of fat to protect themselves from the unforgiving climate. Dad's body serves him well, especially in the water. These guys know how to fish. They can dive up to 820 feet deep, hunting for fish, squid, krill. And they can swim about 15 miles per hour.
Am I doing the questions that are online?
No, yeah, it's not in the book. They're different.
So do the questions that are online?
Yes,
Okay.
on the assignment.
The penguin's body is not as graceful on land. Maybe that's why they prefer tobogganing. He may look goofy, but the emperor penguin dad is a perfect gentleman. This sensitive male is an expert at co-parenting, and this ultimate animal dad goes the extra mile to give mom a break. Mom may lay the egg, but it's dad who hatches it. He tucks the tiny egg under his feather-covered skin, where it'll stay snug and warm. For 2 months, he'll eat absolutely nothing and lose nearly half his body weight. Once the hardest work is over, Mom returns to give Dad some relief. She'll tuck the chick into her pouch to keep it warm while Dad heads for the open water to break his fast and feast on fish. But this sensitive male still doesn't head out with the boys for his share of the fun. Instead, he returns to his family and shares the burden. Mom and Dad take turns keeping their baby warm and well-fed until he's big enough to brave the cold. It's a high-stakes game relying on a single egg to pass on your genes. But this ultimate dad's parenting skills pay off. A record-setting 50% of emperor penguin chicks make it to adulthood. No small feat in the harshest climate on Earth.
Fun times, huh? Good stuff. Yeah. All right. Okay, temperate climate. Climate that has warm temperatures in the summer, cold temperatures in the winter, and mild seasons in between. That describes us, right? Yeah. Okay, so it's negative 25 3 weeks ago, and it's 70 degrees today. So we live in definitely a temperate climate. The weather, that's a great example, right? So the weather 3 weeks ago was bitter cold, negative 20, super snowy, it was slick. Today it's beautiful, it's sunny, it's 70, it's nice out, there's no wind. Okay, those are the differences in weather and climate. Okay, some other facts. Make sure you know that temperate climates have 4 seasons. Okay, and then add this one in there just so you know about it. Again, this isn't one of the 3 that's the 3 that we discuss the most, but this one's good to know. Dry and arid climate would be like the deserts. Okay, desert animals are some of these are just facts, but just knowing dry, arid climate, could see that maybe being a bonus question that says, what's the 4th type of climate we discussed in class? Okay. David, can you read for us at distance, please?
Distance from the equator and poles is not the only factor that affects the region's climate. Places near an ocean or a large lake have warmer temperatures than inland areas because the nearby water moderates the temperatures. These places may also have extra precipitation because of the water that evaporates and condenses off the nearby water. The climate up on mountains is colder than the climate at sea level because the atmosphere is less dense at higher elevations. It can't hold as much heat. Mountains also block moisture and rain so that the side of a mountain facing the wind is cooler and more rainy, but the other side is hotter and drier. What things affect the climate where you live?
Let's answer that. What things in our climate affect where we live? Elena. Okay, in what way? Gives us more of a temperate climate. Sure. James.
Like there aren't that many big bodies of water around us, so it doesn't make it like as rainy. Kind of Ohio.
Yep. Affected you, yeah. So it'd be different like in the south or in the west or the east coast, right? When there's a coast of water, sure. Stella.
If you do live like by the bigger lakes, it's a little more warmer.
Sure. What affects our climate? What affects where we live? Okay. In what way? What way would the lakes affect it? Like what lakes are you talking about?
Ozarks and the Truman and the rivers that go through.
Okay. How about downtown Kansas City? What's down there?
A whole lot of like buildings and restaurants that create pollution.
There it is, right? So all those buildings and all that pollution we talked about in the factors that affect the climate, that's in our cities. We have that right here in our backyard. Okay. Let's keep going here on 274. Tosin?
Although weather can change hourly, a region's climate remains the same for a long time. Still, climate does not change. For example, a sheet of ice on 2 kilometers, 2 miles, thick ones covered Canada and the northern half of the United States. Thousands of years ago, Earth's climate was cooler and enormous glaciers covered much of the planet. A cool period in Earth's history where ice covered as much as the land is called Ice Age.
Freeze. So what's changed in 1,000 years that's contributed to we don't live in an ice age anymore? What's contributed, James? Yep, because it says pollution does what? Heat. Yeah, it traps the heat, so it's creating a warmer environment. Stella.
Humans traveling to different places.
Creates pollution, right? All the cars. Buildings are going up more. right? And we said more buildings create more heat. Okay, didn't used to look like this with this many buildings. Jeremy.
Like global warming.
Global warming. Good. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Sorry, Tosin, keep it rolling. I think you're at scientific evidence.
Scientific evidence shows that Earth had many ice ages. Evidence also shows that some places on Earth have had much different climates than they have today. For example, fossils and tropical plants and animals have been discovered in things like
Good. Bella.
In recent years, scientists have been paying especially close attention to climate. Records show that the temperature of Earth's atmosphere is increasing. An increase in Earth's average atmospheric temperature is called global warming. This may be a part of a natural cycle. Human activity may also be contributing to this increase. As we learn, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere keeps Earth from freezing.
Good.
Activity, for example, burning fossil fuels such as coal and gasoline, is also adding extra carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Many scientists believe that this extra carbon dioxide is trapping heat and causing Earth's temperature to rise.
Good. Okay. So what are some other human activity you guys could think of that is contributing to the increase in atmospheric temperature?
Cars and putting up buildings. And
Okay. Why cars?
burning of gasoline.
There you go. That's the fossil fuels, right? James.
Like more people like it takes up more space and stuff.
Good. Said cars. What about
Houses, buildings.
planes? We weren't flying planes like this 100 years ago, right? I mean, there's like thousands of plane flights a day.
Industrial warehouses.
Industrialization and stuff like that, right? Like you see this picture over here in 275. This is some of the. You good? Somebody took my key, girls. I don't know where. I haven't had it all day today. You take these, Bill. Okay, sorry, got off track there. So, yeah, we know that the things that we're doing, there's more people, there's more buildings, there's more plane flights, there's more travel, there's all this coal and pollution. And so what are your thoughts on that as young people growing up in this world? And they're talking right now about closing down coal plants and fossil fuels like that. How do you feel about the thought of global warming? Stella.
I think there's definitely ways like to stop contributing to it, but I also think some of the things that they say they're doing could just be cut down. Like instead of completely getting rid of things, because we use that a lot, we could find more ways to alternate it, so we're not using only those.
Yeah.
And we're doing multiple things.
So having some alternative resources, maybe? Jackson.
I think electrical companies, like people that use more electricity and like Tesla and more
Hybrid stuff.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
more electrical cars and stuff. Their stocks and money producing is going to go up a lot more.
Okay. That's good. Tosin.
Oh, is that some of the stuff you don't need as much? There's like this place I drive by with like a million parking spots and there's not as much people that like drive around there.
Yeah.
But they're building a huge parking garage, but there's like barely any people driving around there.
Yeah, so it's like, why are we doing that? Yeah, why are we contributing to all those things? Sure. James.
I think this is all just like for end times, and that it just has to get worse in order for the world to come back.
To get better? It's good, James. I don't think you're too far off, my friend. I think we're getting pretty close. I think the world we're living in is pretty ugly and pretty divided, right? Yeah, when we got people that don't agree with science, and maybe not all science is right, but I choose to believe in science because I believe God is who created the universe, and so I believe that this is real science. I believe in this stuff. But we've got people today. You guys know I don't stand up here and talk politics because I don't like it, either side of it. But we got some people that are pretty divided. I don't think you're too far off, James, on that one, bud.
I think that, like, building things that don't need to be built, like, at the lake, they put in a sidewalk, like, where no one ever even chooses to use it.
Mm-hmm.
We could have used those resources to build
Something else, right?
Water, like, use the money to invest in the town to make it a better town just for people to live in.
Yeah.
Instead of...
It's kind of like what Tosin was saying about that parking garage, right? Feels like kind of wasted resources. Elena?
Kind of with the wasted resources, when you tear a building down and then move it a location, they're just throwing those resources away and then making new ones.
Yeah.
But you can just use those again.
We should be, renewing.
Yeah, because they just moved a Dollar Tree down the street, and it was perfectly fine where it was.
Yeah.
It's not really going anywhere, and they have this entire empty building, and they're just tearing it down, but they're doing it they have all the resources, and they're you can still use them, but they're just throwing them away.
Mm-hmm. Bunch of wasted resources. Yeah. One more here.
Yeah, to add on to Elena's, instead of just building new buildings when there's so many places for lease right now,
Mm-hmm.
you could, instead of building a bunch of new buildings, move your store to one of those
Vacant
places
buildings.
that
They're already existent. We talked a little bit about that. I think one of the videos we showed back in, this was probably Unit 4, when we were talking about renewable and non-renewable resources. We talked a lot about how these non-renewable resources are what definitely contribute to this stuff, right? Your fossil fuels and things like that. We're talking about that when we rebuild all this stuff, we're just killing the atmosphere. So I think you guys are onto something with that. Sam, will you read for us, bud? We're at 275. Scientists, I believe.
Scientists have also discovered that chemicals called CFCs,
Fluorocarbons. Yep. Good.
Fluorocarbons, which are used in refrigerators, air conditioners, and aerosol cans, are destroying ozone, one of the gases in the atmosphere. A layer of ozone gas is located high in the atmosphere, protects living things from the sun's harmful rays. The thinning of the ozone layer from CFCs doesn't contribute to global warming, but it does let harmful radiation through the atmosphere, causing more severe sunburns and skin cancers.
Good, Sam. So, hey, I want everybody in their notes. Okay, it's not on my slideshow, but I want you to put in there the ozone layer. Okay, right there from your book where it says it's one of the gases in the atmosphere, but I want you to write that next sentence where it says a layer of ozone gas located high in the atmosphere protects living things from the sun's harmful rays. You can write that sentence however you want, but I want you to get that sentence in there so you know that the ozone layer contributes to protecting living things from the sun's harmful rays. So is the ozone layer important?
Yes.
Very much so.
Global warming, bring that one down, take it down.
Yeah, we'd be losing more of that, right? And so it's gonna lose its effectiveness. Yeah. So that last sentence is pretty important there too. You don't have to write that down, but just important to know, right? That the thinning of the ozone layer from these CFCs that we're talking about, from these bad chemicals, doesn't contribute specifically to global warming, okay? But it does let the harmful radiation through the atmosphere, which they believe causes more sunburns and skin cancers. Okay? Let's finish up on page 276. New technologies are helping to solve these problems. Alternative energy sources are being developed to reduce air pollution and global warming. New chemicals are replacing CFCs to help protect the ozone layer. These new inventions and technologies will benefit us all. Because of them, you will breathe cleaner air and suffer less damage from the sun's harmful rays. Okay? So, don't do it on 278. Okay? I don't want you to do that one. I want you to do the one that's actually on here for the day. Okay? That's the one I want you to work on. 11:25. You got 1 or 2 minutes if you want to get started. Make sure all of that comes from the book and discussion. So hopefully you were paying attention to discussion. All right. Why do you guys think I have that in bold?
Because we need to do it.
Because it takes away from your grade if you don't.
Yeah, because all of those are correct answers. You need to do it. It takes away from your grade immediately and drastically when you don't. And because, do you guys know why I'm having you do that?
We have to do it next year.
Yeah. It's my job to make sure you're prepared for next year. And when you guys are answering questions in middle school, 2-word answers or not capitalizing and not punctuating is not going to get it done. So you need to be in these habits, especially when you're typing, of capitalization. Okay? Make sure your sentences have a subject and a verb. Right? You know that stuff from language class, and then make sure you have a punctuation at the end. So make sure you have complete sentences. Here's some examples so you guys can know what I'm talking about, where you're like, well, what would I put here? Just use the question to start your sentence. List the factors that affect climate. The factors that affect climate are the following. List the 3 different climates. The 3 different climates are, what type of climate does the United States have? The United States has a blank climate. List 3 characteristics to describe a temperate climate. The 3 characteristics to describe a temperate climate. Right? 5, explain how a mountain can have a rainforest. Make sure on that one, I'd note to self, go back to page 273 for the answer to number 5. Okay? The climate up on mountains is colder than the climate at sea level because the atmosphere is less dense at higher elevations and can't hold as much heat. Mountains also block moisture and rain so that the side of a mountain facing the wind is cooler and more rainy, but the other side is hotter and drier. Right? And then 6, what climate besides a temperate climate would you like to visit and why? You answer that. That's just a personal question. So the climate I would like to visit would be this one, and I would have to go to South Africa to get to it. Okay? Great job today. Appreciate you guys' focus and attention today. Make sure you finish those, and if you didn't get 7-3 done on Tuesday, that's due as well. Okay? Remember, I told you guys also on Tuesday that this week's your last week. I'm giving you that opportunity to bring up any of these thinkbacks that you don't have complete sentences on. Tomorrow's the last day. I've got several parent emails wanting to know why grades are where they're at, and if you're not communicating that to them, that's on you. Okay? Let's take some responsibility and get those knocked out. Have a good day. See you, bud. You're welcome. We'll see you guys.
And it still shows as if.
Okay. I didn't look at that. Those weren't something that we're going to be. I don't know if you're going to get any credit for that. You just now turned it in on Monday? Okay. You're welcome.
Can I submit this just so you have the first two that I typed?
No, because then you're only going to get credit for the first 2.
I know, and then I'll submit another one with the rest of the answers.
Why would you do that? You're welcome. Why not just save it to a Google Doc? You're going to have to redo the work either way if you do it like that. You see what I'm saying? If you submit it to me with 2, you're still going to have to go back and redo it. Mr. Sanders, what you got, boss? You know Chromebook?
I'm here for Parker stuff.
Parker White stuff.
Yes, he's out for the rest of this week and all of next week.
No bueno.
Unless he gets a doctor to say he can come back earlier. So
Parker.
is this his desk?
Yes.
Oh, that doesn't look like there's much down there.
I know. He's a pretty clean kid, though, too.
Yeah, that's
Pretty organized.
good. So hopefully that.
All right, so he's going to need
Notebooks.
subjects and predicates. That's language. Probably send that. That's language. Science fair. Yes, you're in the lunchroom. Olivia, is Olivia in here? What'd you do with my key, sis? You got to stop taking that. You got to leave it up there for me. You can't keep that because then I don't have one all class. After God's own heart, he needs this. Here's history. I'm guessing he has his science book because it's not in there. Yeah. All right, brother.
If I hear anything else, I'll let you know.
You got it.
Good, do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You got it.